To the special called Board of Commissioners meeting for March 10th, 2015. We have one item on the agenda today, and it's to approve the appointment of Bob Weatherford to the Solid Waste Management Authority. With that, Commissioners, I'll bring forward a motion that we approve the appointment of Bob Weatherford to the Solid Waste Management Authority as he replaces Helen Gorham. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call a question. Motion carries 4-0. Lisa Cupid is absent. Seeing nothing further for this meeting, we'll adjourn the Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you.
Go back with this one.
Hmm?
Go back with this one. Solid waste.
Yeah.
We're ready.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Cobb County Solid Waste Management Authority meeting for March 10th, 2015. We'll call the meeting to order. There are three items on today's agenda. First item is to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2014 meeting of the Solid Waste Management Authority. Before I take a motion on that, I want to welcome Commissioner Weatherford to the board.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ott to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any other comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Cupid absent. The second item is the election of officers. The recommendation, Commissioner, is the Cobb County Solid Waste Management Authority Board of Directors elects the following officers to serve for the calendar year of 2015. Tim Lee as chairman, Joanne Burrow as vice chair. The finance director of Cobb County is appointed to serve as the pleasure of the Board of Directors as the authority's secretary treasurer. And the appointed clerk to the Cobb County Board of Commissioners is appointed to serve as the clerk of the authority. That brings my motion forward. Is there a second? There's a second. Any comment? Call a question. That carries 4-0. The third item is the solid waste services update. Jonathan, Dr. Jonathan, how are you, sir?
Doing fine today, Chairman, and good morning. A lot of exciting items to talk about from 2014. Service updates will be provided by representatives from all three of our companies, and we'll start off with Keep Cobb Beautiful update from Ms. Carolyn Hannah.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Morning.
Bring greetings to you from the Keep Cobb Beautiful Board and staff. My name is Carolyn Hannah, and I'm the Public Programs Coordinator for the Keep Cobb Beautiful program, and I serve as the Executive Director for Keep Cobb Beautiful, Inc. Want to get started with just a continuation of our celebrating of 30 years of the program. We've had 30 awesome years with the support of the community, our businesses, and also our Keep America Beautiful network in Cobb County. We were founded in 1984, and since then we've garnered over $20 million of volunteer service hours, in-kind donations, and a variety of other activities. Just an update on our nonprofit. Our current executive committee, we have Ms. B.G. Herron, who is Chattahoochee Tech, as our chair. Our first vice chair is Mr. Jeff Gross. Our second vice chair is Todd Niemeyer. Ms. Shelley Hawley, a newer board member, she's our treasurer. And our secretary, Mr. Jack Siegel. We have a youth engagement and entrepreneurship program. It's our associate board member program. And I like to highlight that because it's an opportunity for young people to begin serving in their community on a volunteer basis, but also it gives them an opportunity to learn to pursue and promote environmental stewardship while working in a nonprofit with a nonprofit organization. It's a competitive process for Cobb County juniors and seniors, and this year we have 13 students representing 8 schools. And in May, eligible seniors will have the opportunity to apply for scholarships. It's a very good program, and we've gotten quite a bit of recognition from our Keep America Beautiful national organization for that program, and lots of other affiliates are trying to model that, so we're very proud of that program. In 2014, we've had several programs. Our 4 focus areas for the program are litter prevention and waste reduction, community greening, and recycling. Our litter prevention program is one of our biggest programs, starting with the Adopt a Mile, which is a longstanding partnership between DOT, and we've organized several cleanups on about 140 miles of Cobb roads, and that's brought in a value of approximately $75,000 in cost avoidance to the county. Our next big initiative, which takes place for about 8 months of the year, but that we focus on in March through May with community challenges for cleanups and beautification projects, is our Great American Cleanup. And we get neighborhood schools, churches, and other groups to do cleanups, trash collections, flower plantings, paintings, whatnot. And last year we disposed of over 20,000 pounds of litter for that program. And then finally, our formal measure of the aesthetic cleanliness of Cobb County is measured through our community appearance survey. It's a measure by Keep America Beautiful regarding the visual appearance of the county. And last year's rating for Keep Cobb Beautiful in Cobb County was 1.42 on a scale of 4. And we've actually been below 2 and closer to, and below 1.5 for at least the last 5 years. And there are some areas that we need to focus on, but in general, the Cobb community is still a visually clean and beautiful place to be. Our community greening program, we do that primarily through our Cobb Trees program and also our Dig in the Dirt program. Last year, we planted over 130 trees in Cobb parks and schools. We have our school tree program. We partner with Georgia Forestry Commission, and we provide trees for a sustainability purpose. So it may be trees planted closer to the buildings to provide shade for cooling. We may plant trees in open areas so the kids can have shade trees. And so that's been a good program, and we partner with the school district and their principals for agreements to take care of those trees. And then finally, we have our Dig in the Dirt program, and it's to expose kids to where their food comes from, and the value of learning that comes from that. There's science, history, social studies that are tied to these lessons, and through a generous grant from Lockheed Martin and the Dow Chemical Company for the last 5 years, we've been able to award scholarships to 16 schools. The maximum grant was $800, and several of the schools received that amount. So it's been a very great program, and we're really appreciative for the sponsors of that program. And finally, we have our recycling and waste reduction. So in addition to the events that we offer a few times a year, we do have a recycle drop spot program that we have recycle bins located at 4 fire stations in the 4 commission districts in the county. It's growing volumes and popularity. There's been a request for more drop spots. We've had a significant increase in materials, in particular paper, that's been dropping off because another recycler is no longer operating in the county. So definitely there's been a public demand for this, and we're hoping that we can grow the program in the future. One program that we've been doing ongoing but merged, and in our second year, is our Community Recycling Center. Typically we have a electronics recycling day, a document shredding day. They're all separate events, but for the past going on 2 years now, we've had the Community Recycling Center where you can come, drop off everything. We recycle paint, batteries, metals, electronics, and our secure document shredding, and those are some of our numbers there. We average about 500 cars per event, and last year we recycled over 31,000 pounds of metals in e-recycling, over 20,000 pounds of paper, and over 2,000 gallons of paint. And finally, we have our medication disposal day, which is held twice a year with the permission of the DEA. And last year we collected over 4,000 pounds of meds and pharmaceuticals. But what's also unique about our program is that we collect and dispose of medical sharps. So that's a great opportunity. There are people that have to use those materials ongoing. There's a fee to dispose of that, and so we allow that. We accept those sharps and needles at our collection events. And finally, our program ultimately is about education and advocacy. We want to promote a behavior change in people's attitudes toward the environment. But we do have formal education programs. We partner with Water System for the Cobb Green Schools program. We go in and we give lessons to students. We participate in the Summer Library Series. We have for Arbor Day and America Recycles Day through the Recyclable program, usually a larger event for 1 or 2 schools to participate in. And then we also have the Rivers Alive Stream cleanup, where at the end of the cleanup we have an educational presentation. And then finally, at their request, we go to a variety of community groups to share information about the program and how they can get involved. So finally, for 2014, we actually had a very big year just due to the numbers of people participating in donations and time that we received. Our value of those hours and in-kind donations in Georgia is about, the average is about $22, $23. And Keep Cobb Beautiful's cost-benefit ratio is $30. We actually have a big program, and so our numbers for last year through 32 formal events and then our ongoing programs amounts to $1.9 million. So we're very proud of that for last year. The year before it was about 1.6. And so that means that people are engaged in the program, whether through the giving of their time or their resources. And finally, we've been fortunate to be an award-winning program. And for 2014, for the second year in a row, we've received the Top Volunteer Award and the Affiliate Award. So our population category for Keep Georgia Beautiful is 500,000 plus. So we've won that several times, but recently 2 times in a row. And then last year, our current board chair, B.G. Herron, won the Carroll Creighton Woman of the Year, and that's the top volunteer award for Keep Georgia Beautiful. The previous year, our former chair, Dr. Michael Patel, he received the Iron Eyes Cody Award, I think that's what it's called, for the top male volunteer of the year. So we're very proud of our board and our volunteers. And then finally, they have a new program in Georgia. We are part of the Governor's Circle, and that recognition is just given to affiliates that are in good standing, have submitted all of the ongoing reporting for Keep America Beautiful, also as well as for Keep Georgia Beautiful. So we're proud to be receiving that this year. Just a few of our upcoming events. You'll see that we have quite a few things going on in March and April, but I did want to highlight on March 18th, next Wednesday, we have our legislative day, the affiliates in Georgia, and we'll be going down to the Georgia State Capitol to interact with our elected officials up in the Capitol. But also Keep Cobb Beautiful will be receiving our Governor's Circle Award, so we'll have some of our board members there, and they have the opportunity, if they're available, to have conversations with some of the representatives for Cobb County. So we're looking forward to that. With that being said, thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you so very much. Great report as always. You guys do a fantastic job, and thank you to your volunteer base. I mean, clearly without them, this wouldn't be as robust as it is. So the folks that get involved and make it happen, usually very early on Saturday mornings, and it's very much appreciated to that point. I have 2 questions. On the trees, are we still robust with sites? I think I was led to believe somewhere along the line recently we were running out of sites where we could plant trees. Is that still the case, or are we still doing well?
There are many opportunities, I think, for trees. We have more trees or resources than the opportunities. So that's something that we're ongoing trying to grow, is the number of locations or opportunities to put trees in the ground, but
And so, commissioners, if they hear something from the community or cite something, they should let you know where there might be some opportunities for those to plant those trees.
yes.
And does the tree planting, does it include like shrubbery? And I say that to mean, there's some shrubbery that's really robust that could work as an accent to a tree. Like you mentioned, trees along a building that would help
I
help with
believe,
it.
I believe the way our tree, you correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, our tree ordinance is written is that it must be a tree in its adult state of tree versus a shrub. So that's what we do, even if it's a small species of tree or stature. The way the tree ordinance is written for the expenditure of the recompense funds is that what goes into the ground must be a tree, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Would that, let me ask this question, I probably should have asked it earlier. Is that something we should look at, or do you think we're good where we are? Or
Well, I think we're good because our partner at the Georgia Forestry Commission, well, the first thing we like to do, but it's not required, but we like to promote the planting of native species. But
Right.
there's so many kinds of different species that oftentimes we can find something that the requesting group is comfortable with or happy with.
Terrific, okay. And the medical disposal, that isn't active all the time, right? Those are just 2 dates?
That's just 2 days right now. Any medication disposal activity is sanctioned by the DEA, and our event is twice per year. I think there may be one other community in Cobb that has an ongoing take back program for the last year and a half, but not the Sharps.
Right, the sharps
Yeah.
are what's key.
Yes, it has to be endorsed or sponsored by a police department or public safety department, and so I think that's just another program that would have to be ongoing in that department, which is why we do it just a few times a year right now.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Commissioner?
First of all, great job.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all the many awards over the last few years since you've been at the helm. Also, I'd like to mention that I've had some requests from schools. And, our parks and county facilities are, I guess, maybe maxed out over the years. But, there could be other locations that we need to look for in in our districts. But I've had some requests from schools, and I think we're working on a couple of locations. So that may be a suggestion for everybody to look at.
Well, we actually pursue the schools quite a bit, and at the end of the day, it's if that particular school's in agreement with the maintenance requirements, et cetera. But that's one of our primary targets, the schools.
Perfect, thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, Chairman.
Ms. Cupid?
Yes. First, I'd like to thank you as well for all the work that your agency or organization does, and would like to thank you for organizing that big cleanup day near Six Flags Drive and getting the 3 organizations to come out. I believe it was Georgia Power, Yancey, and
Yancey Brothers.
Yes, and Six Flags that came out.
You're welcome.
I'd like to follow up on a lot of the questions regarding trees. The tree plantings, are those done only on I guess, larger parcels, or are those also done on right-of-ways?
No, they're done on the right of way.
So county right-of-ways are eligible? Okay.
Yes.
I would be careful, it's not a blanket right-of-way statement.
No.
Right-of-ways,
Okay.
obviously that's property we own, but we're not gonna wanna put trees on a right-of-way along a road for safety concerns.
Yeah, we
So-
have to get permission or approval from Cobb DOT regarding where we can plant trees.
Okay, and
The
it's
only requirement is that the trees must be planted on public property.
on public property? Okay, and that's why I asked, because there's some areas that certainly could be beautified, but they're not public property. Also, you stated that you're working with the schools so that, and does the request come from the schools for the tree plantings, or do you?
Sometimes it comes from a
locally?
KCD board member. It may come from a PTA representative, it may come from the principal or environmental club advisor.
Okay.
But ultimately, the school principal has to sign off on the maintenance agreement And it's a very lenient agreement, but it's a good faith thing. The nonprofit board works with the school to inspect the trees and provide the time-release watering devices if required. But at the end of the day, the school's administration has to be in support of the trees
Okay.
going into the ground.
Okay. Okay, thank you, and appreciate all you do.
Great job. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Jenkins.
At this time, I'll have Mr. Jay Brooks from Tag Grinding. Jay is the Vice President of Operations and Manufacturing for Tag. Come up and give a report on our vegetative waste recovery operation.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners,
Morning.
County Manager. This year, we've seen an increase in customer activity as we have in the last few years. We went up from 29,000 to 31,000. Because of that, the amount of cubic yards and tonnage leaving has also gone up, and the amount of payment has also gone up to the county. This has been the same trend for the last few years, and we expect it to going forward because we recently were brought to our attention about the emerald ash borer. The emerald ash borer is a insect that attacks the ash trees, and it was discovered in the state of Georgia in DeKalb and Fulton County in 2013. Currently, there are 12 counties under quarantine, and Cobb County is a county that's under the quarantine for the emerald ash borer. The emerald ash borer has wiped out trees in other states across the nation, ash trees. So the USDA has set up regulations where you must get your facility certified to accept and for the debris to leave. So the only way for the hardwood debris to leave the quarantine area is for it to come into a certified facility, be processed, and then it can leave. And we've been working closely with the USDA, and we are proud to say one of the first facilities to get certified for this. Not many citizens or not many other organizations know about this, because the reason why we discovered it is because our end user come to us and said, hey, you've got to get us this by March 1st. And then we went from that process. Now, not many citizens know it because I haven't seen it advertised. And any information that is needed, you can go to gatrees.org, and that's that's the forester's website, and any information there can be gained. And hopefully, with your help, hopefully we can stop this spread, because it's already, from 2013, it's went from 2 counties all the way up to 12.
Well, are you done?
No, yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead. Finish,
No, go ahead.
Finish up. No, I'm sure all of the commissioners and Mr. Quigley, when we do our newsletters this week, will be glad to incorporate that into our newsletter to get out to the community what's going on.
I would appreciate that, because this is something that's really important. They say in the state of Tennessee, it's wiped them out. They're having to bring trees in and regerminate them. Nurseries are even affected by this right here.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Ash trees. It's a ash. Not many people understand, can tell the difference in a hardwood tree between an oak and an ash and other trees. So the USDA has wrote it where all hardwoods cannot leave the county unless they're processed. So if they leave, what they're afraid of is they leave the quarantine area that it will spread.
Okay. So trees that are cut down or treated?
Yes, ma'am. Trees that are cut down, they have to be treated. Firewood has to be kiln dried, which is put up under a heat process for so many hours, or they have to be ground up, which we do, and they have to be a 1x1 square, or they can be, 2 sides have to be 1x1. It can be as long as it wants to be, but it has to be a 1x1.
How would you regulate that?
We have, in our grinders, we have grates that have holes up under the hammer mill, and it regulates the size. So currently we run a 3-inch. We were running 5s until this regulation come out. And whenever it come out, they come out and inspected our grinder. And so then we realized we needed to reduce the size of the grates. Because of the reduction in the size of the grates, everything falls within tolerance now.
I'm sorry, how would you regulate it if somebody's cutting down a tree on their own property? I mean, how do you regulate the movement?
Unfortunately, you
of
can't. The only
product?
thing you can do is just inform. You can't.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Because many citizens we see have said that they don't necessarily realize we're here, so they've gone to other counties, and that's one great concern we've had. Some people have gone to Cherokee County with the debris, and Cherokee County is not under the quarantine area, and that's a potential for it to spread.
Okay. Interesting.
And ash trees are mainly found in homes, around homes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great information. Any other comments or questions?
Well, without getting into too much detail, is there a preventative measure to treat these trees?
Yes, ma'am, there is, but on gatrees.org, there's information to treat your trees. I've seen like ortho, weed be gone. You can spray your tree with that, and you have to do it in certain times of the year. They break that down for you, certain times of the year, and how much to do for the area.
Okay. I was just thinking this may be, as far as awareness and getting the word out, we could partner with our extension service and master gardeners or other programs that we have in the county.
Hopefully, when the word gets out that the citizens will demand that the arborist and their vegetative debris are brought to a certified facility. And hopefully this will stop the spread, because this is a serious issue. It's even loggers have to be certified, not just urban wood waste facilities, but even anybody that deals with the tree has to be certified. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good job. Any other thoughts? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good work on the income, too, by the way. Thank you very much. Dr. Jenkins.
Yes. At this time, I'll have Mayor Steve Edwards come and give an update for advanced disposal. Well,
I'd like to point out that he is a mayor of a city outside of the county of Cobb.
Mayor of Sugar Hill, Georgia.
Sugar Hill. Mayor, good to see you.
Hello, brother. Good to see y'all. Chairman, speaking of good news, we also bring you good news as far as income. I had a good long time in the car to think this morning on my opening comments, and I thought of one thing. Y'all have come a long, long way since the composting days. We have turned that around. Y'all have done an excellent job. Going into some of the numbers, and I won't call them individually, but you are down on electronics, antifreeze, batteries. You are up on metals. You are also up on used oil. You are down on tires. And Rock 10, our subcontractor, will give you updates on the other recyclables. And if you go to the next slide, you are up on all categories as far as days open to the citizens, tons hauled in, tons hauled out, total transactions, average tons per day, average transactions per day, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, is your payments to Cobb or higher. And you'll even notice that you even had more days that we were open in 2013 compared to 2014. So you're up in all categories and you're doing well, and we're glad to be a partner with Cobb County.
Thanks. Mayor, are you finished with the all the renovation, everything at the transfer station?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Great.
There might be one or two quick items to do, but we're done.
Super. Thank you. Any other comments from the board? As with everything, Mayor, we don't hear anything. It's good news. And I haven't heard a thing. So thank you very much for the work you do out there. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Jenkins.
Next, we will have Mr. Hal Risher, who is Director of Strategic Accounts for Rock 10, give an update on Rock 10's operations for last year.
Thanks for having us here again this year. Rock 10 just completed last summer our investment project by the installation of a high-volume, high-capacity, single-stream processing facility. And if you haven't had a chance to see that or tour it, please do so. You can arrange that through me or either Robin Williams here. He's with us here, the general manager of the facility. For those of you not familiar with Rock 10, we are a global packaging company. We operate paper mills pretty much throughout the South and the Southeast and the Eastern Seaboard. We have one in the Pacific Northwest. The recycling division for Rock 10, its primary goal is to create and sustain feedstock for these paper mills to produce new linerboard for our packages. We control, Rock 10 controls about 8 million tons of material annually. we consume about half of that through our own mills. Go to the next slide, please. Year over year, the drop-off tons were up by about 125 tons. Year over year, the plant processed over 25,000 additional tons. And year over year, the county benefited a little bit more than $68,000 in year over year. Despite our investment in technology and in the higher capacity, more efficiency with the system, the commodity markets have not been very friendly to us. In the last 4 years, the value of a processed ton of single stream material has dropped about $90. Just to give you some perspective on that, in April of 2011, when we were making these kind of investment decisions across the country, the market value of a ton of processed single stream was about $145. Today it's about $55. So we are certainly challenged by that. Also, and more recently, we've lost outlets for secondary glass processors. And a secondary glass processor is someone that takes mixed glass from a facility like ours and further cleans it and sorts it for an end user like in Owens, Illinois, for example. And as significant over these last 3 to 4 years, it's been an increased amount of contamination, and largely that's due to as haulers convert from 18-gallon bins, for example, to these 65 and 95-gallon bins that are primarily designed to improve efficiency and operations. It inherently contributes to more contamination, in the stream. All in all, I would say the state of recycling, particularly single stream recycling, is in a little bit of an evolutionary stage. It's kind of like it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Things just change, and you have to adjust and do something different. And we've started some dialogue with communities, you guys included, to think through that process and figure out what's the better mousetrap going forward.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Ott?
Yeah, I just have a question because the trash hauler that we use within the last 3 or 4 months for the recycling, we have the single stream of everything except for paper. Was there some change at the county facility as to why they're requiring paper to be separated out?
No, sir.
So, no idea. Okay.
I could speculate if you wanted to, but
Don't do that.
No.
Any other questions or comments on the board? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Dr. Jenkins.
Well, as a follow-up to what Hal just said, the county is in receipt of a letter from Advanced Disposal where they are endorsing ROT10's request for us to remove glass as a required commodity to be recycled. So we're in the process of reviewing that request and routing it up through our organization.
Thank you. Look forward to your recommendation in that regard. Any other comments from the board? Mr. Hankins? I noticed that. Commissioner Gorham, thank you for being with us this morning. You missed our solid waste meeting. Yeah, I know. Thank you very much, John Johnson. Thank you. We are adjourned.